Okay, so here's a fun little heartbreak for you. There is a K-drama out there that beat some of the biggest, buzziest, most hyped shows in Korea at the country's version of the Oscars. And I would bet money you've never even heard of it. It's on this list, and it is not even the one I'd call the best. Because somewhere on your streaming home screen, buried under the same 6 shows the algorithm keeps shoving at everybody, there are these quiet little masterpieces that got the reviews, got the awards, got the "this changed me" comments from everyone who actually watched them, and then just poof, vanished from the conversation. I found 11 of them. 11 dramas that critics adored, that superfans guard like a secret, and that most people scrolled right past. One of them made me cry in public, and I'm still a little mad about it. One has a twist I genuinely have not recovered from, and it is not the one you're about to guess. And the one sitting at number 1, people who finish it don't say, "That was good." They say, "That show rearranged something in my chest." I'm going to tell you exactly why each one is special, the performances, the writing, the reason it hits, and for every single pick I'll tell you, if you loved this famous drama, this hidden gem is your next obsession. No spoilers, none. I would never do you like that.
Real quick, before we dive in, if you live for this stuff, if your idea of a perfect night is a great K-drama and someone to yell about it with, subscribe, because this is the whole channel. And smack that like button. It genuinely shoves these videos in front of more people who need a new show tonight. Trust me, you're gonna want your Notes app open for at least 4 of these. All right, let's get into it. We're starting soft because you need an on-ramp, and When the Weather is Fine from 2020 is the coziest possible way in. Here's the setup. A woman who's exhausted by the city moves back to her tiny, snowed-in hometown in the countryside, and the guy running the little bookstore in the village happens to be someone from her past. That's it. That's the engine. It sounds like nothing, and it is everything, because this show understands that healing isn't loud. It's a wool sweater of a drama. It is a mug of tea that hugs you back. Park Min-young plays completely against the polished rom-com type she's known for. She's guarded, prickly, a little broken, and she lets you see all of it. There's a stillness to her here you don't usually get to see, and it's the best she's ever been. And So Kang-joon, as the bookstore owner, does this thing where he says almost nothing and somehow communicates an entire inner life with his eyes. The man acts with his silences. The slow burn here is criminally slow, in the best way. If you're the kind of viewer who screams, "Just talk to each other," at the screen, okay, you'll suffer a little, but it earns it. And can we talk about the look of this show for a second? It is shot like a series of paintings. Snow on bare branches, warm lamplight in the bookstore, breath fogging in cold air. It's the kind of drama you put on when the world feels too loud and you need something to slow your heart rate down. Every episode ends with a little passage read aloud from a book, and by the finale, that framing device quietly becomes the whole emotional spine of the show. It's doing more than it lets on. Here's your first recommendation match. If Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha or When the Camellia Blooms wrecked you in that soft, small-town, warm-your-soul way, this is the one you watch next. And honestly, it's more delicate than both. It just never got the same spotlight. And keep that snowed-in bookstore feeling in your back pocket, because a few picks from now, I'm giving you the opposite, a show that had me genuinely scared to turn off the lights.
Now let's shake it up completely. Chicago Typewriter 2017, and I need you to trust me through the pitch because it sounds like 3 different shows in a trench coat, and that's exactly why it's brilliant. You've got a burned-out, best-selling author in the present day, you've got a mysterious ghostwriter, and you've got a whole second timeline set in the 1930s during Korea's independence movement under Japanese occupation. Reincarnation, fate, found family, a typewriter that may or may not be haunted. It should be a mess. It is instead one of the most elegant things I've ever watched. Yoo Ah-in is magnetic. This is pre-global fame Yoo Ah-in, doing dual roles across 2 eras, and he flips between them like a switch. The jaded, blocked author in the present, and someone very different in the past. Im Soo-jung and Go Kyung-pyo round out a trio with the kind of chemistry that makes you forget to breathe. And Go Kyung-pyo in particular gets a role with so much quiet ache in it that people finish the show mostly wanting to talk about him. The 1930s scenes carry real emotional and historical weight. This isn't costume cosplay, it's got a heartbeat, and it treats a genuinely painful chapter of Korean history with respect, while still being a swoony, propulsive romance. What makes it a hidden gem and not just a good show is the structure. It's constantly folding the past and present over each other, so a small gesture in the modern timeline suddenly means everything once you understand the history behind it. It rewards you for paying attention, and the OST is one of the most underrated soundtracks in the whole genre. Go listen after. You'll recognize the feeling before you recognize the song. Recommendation match. If Goblin is your comfort show, the sweeping, fate across lifetimes, we were meant to find each other ache of it. Chicago Typewriter scratches that exact itch, and it's a fraction as talked about. It's the fantasy romance road not taken. Quick one for the comments. What's a genre blend drama you think totally worked? Because a lot of people are scared of the mixed genre ones, and I need you converted. Drop it below. Okay, gear shift. If the last two were tea, this one's an espresso shot to the face. Weak Hero Class 1 2022. Coming of age action thriller. And I mean thriller. The premise. A small, quiet, top-of-the-class kid who looks like he'd lose a fight to a strong breeze, except he's terrifyingly smart, and he weaponizes physics, psychology, and whatever's lying around to survive the brutal food chain of his school. Park Ji-hoon, yes, the idol, gives a performance that made a lot of people eat their words. He plays this stillness that's honestly unsettling. You never quite know what's happening behind his eyes. The fight choreography is grounded and creative and hurts to watch in the way good action should. And underneath the action, it's actually about something. Loneliness, the cost of always being the smartest and most alone person in the room. And it's smart about its violence. This isn't action for the sake of a cool clip. Every fight is a puzzle the kid has to solve with brains, because he can't win on strength. And the show never lets you forget what all this brutality is quietly costing him on the inside. The supporting cast of friends he pulls into his orbit is genuinely lovable, which is exactly why the tension works. You're scared for them. The numbers back me up here. Critics scored this thing through the roof. We're talking mid-90s on the review aggregators, and it still slid under most people's radar because it launched on a smaller platform first. It's only 8 episodes too, the single most efficient binge on this entire list. Recommendation match. If you tore through Bloodhounds for the underdog with a code energy, or you like the tension of All of Us Are Dead minus the zombies, this is your next binge. It's short, it's sharp, and it does not waste a second. And stay with me, because coming up, I've got the drama that beat the big budget giants at Korea's biggest awards, and the #1, which is the reason I made this whole video.
Alright, remember when I mentioned a twist I haven't recovered from? And I said it's not the one you'd guess? This is that one. The Light in Your Eyes, 2019. Sometimes translated as Radiant. So on the surface only, it's about a bright young woman who dreams of being an announcer, and a mysterious watch that seems to let her turn back time. Han Ji-min and Nam Joo-hyuk lead it, and early on, it plays like a charming little fantasy rom-com about a girl and the slightly grumpy young man she keeps colliding with. And that is all I'm going to say about the plot, because this show contains a reveal that reframes the entire thing, and it is one of the most tender, gut-punching, beautifully earned twists in modern K-drama. It is not a gimmick, it's the whole point, and when it lands, you'll want to immediately rewatch from episode 1 to see everything you missed. Han Ji-min is astonishing in this. That's the tease, I will say no more. Do yourself the biggest favor of your drama-watching life. Go in knowing nothing. Don't read the synopsis, don't watch a trailer, don't let anyone spoil it. Just start it. Recommendation match. If Move to Heaven or It's Okay to Not Be Okay got to the soft, teary center of you, this belongs on your list. And I'd argue it hits even harder because you don't see it coming. Comment your guess for what the twist is, but do not put actual spoilers in the replies for the people scrolling. Be a hero.
Let's breathe out and get clever. Be Melodramatic from 2019. You might see it as Mellow is My Nature. And this one is for anyone who's ever felt like most dramas are written about 22-year-olds falling in love for the first time and wanted something a little more lived in. It follows 3 best friends, all women in their late 30s, all working in and around the TV and film industry, all a beautiful mess. One's a screenwriter, one works in marketing, one's a documentary director quietly falling apart. The dialogue is razor sharp, fast, funny, painfully real. The kind of writing where you rewind just to hear a line again. Chun Woo-hee, John Yo-bin, and Han Ji-yoon have the kind of friendship chemistry you cannot fake. It feels like you're eavesdropping on an actual group chat. Watch for John Yo-bin especially. She carries the show's heaviest, most delicate storyline, and it's the performance that put her on the map for a lot of people. It's hilarious, with this rapid-fire, fourth-wall winking style that felt genuinely fresh when it aired. And then, out of nowhere, it'll knock the wind out of you with something about grief or ambition or being a woman who's supposed to have it figured out by now and doesn't. It's also just refreshingly honest about work, real jobs, real burnout, real deadlines, the specific exhaustion of being creative for a living. Most romance dramas treat careers as background wallpaper. This one gets that your work is half your identity and most of your stress, and it builds whole emotional arcs out of that. It's a show for people who are tired in a way 22 doesn't understand yet. Recommendation match. If you loved Search WWW for its smart, career-driven women, or you're a Fleabag person who wishes there were a K-drama version, this is it. It's witty, it's melancholy, it's grown, and almost nobody talks about it. Halfway home. If you're still with me, you're my people. From here, the hits get heavier, the thrillers, the tearjerker that broke me, and the two at the top that I've been teasing this whole time.
Time to turn the lights down. Nobody knows. 2020. And this is where we leave cozy behind for a while.
Kim So-hyung plays a detective, haunted by a case from nearly 2 decades ago. A predator who took someone she loved and was never caught. When disturbing new events pull her back toward that old ghost, she also finds herself protecting a vulnerable teenager who's tangled up in something much bigger than he understands. Here's why this one matters. Kim So-hyung is a titan. If you only know her from a smaller role somewhere, watching her carry a whole series will recalibrate your brain. She plays this weathered, fierce, deeply moral woman who has basically decided to be one kid's entire shield against the world. And she does it with this controlled, simmering intensity that never tips into melodrama. The young actor opposite her holds his own too, in a role that asks a lot of a teenager. It's a thriller with real tension, but its actual subject is how the adults in a society do or don't protect their children, and it treats that with genuine weight. The pacing is a genuine slow burn, so if you need a mystery that sprints, adjust your expectations. This one wants to sit with you in the dread. But it's the kind of show that lingers for days after. It's atmospheric, it's melancholy, and it has something real to say instead of just chasing the next twist. Recommendation match. If Stranger, the one some folks know as Secret Forest, is your gold standard for a smart, moody, morally serious Korean crime drama, Nobody Knows is criminally in the same league and gets a fraction of the love. And speaking of morally serious crime dramas that mess with your head, the next one flips the whole genre on its back. A Killer Paradox, 2024. This one's fresh, it's on Netflix, and it's still somehow slipped past a ton of people. Which is wild, because the concept is pure catnip. An aimless college kid, played by Choi Woo-shik, accidentally eliminates a total stranger in a moment of panic. Horrifying. Except, the person he took out turns out to have been a monster, a predator who'd hurt others. And then it happens again. And our very normal, very freaked out lead starts to wonder if he has some kind of ability to sense the truly rotten people, while a relentless, brilliant detective, played by Sun Soo-koo, starts closing in. It's based on a hit webtoon, and the show leans all the way into a stylish, slightly comic book energy, bold colors, dark humor, a genuinely uneasy moral core. Because it forces the question you can't stop chewing on. If someone only takes out bad people, are they a hero or a nightmare? Choi Woo-shik is fantastic, playing a guy way out of his depth, jittery, guilt-ridden, in way over his head. And it's such a great use of his everyman quality, because you believe this could actually happen to a normal person. Sun Soo-koo is the coolest man alive as the detective, and there's a third character who complicates the whole moral math even further, but I'll let you meet him yourself. Nobody in the show is fully clean, and that's the point. And I love that it doesn't hand you an easy answer. A lesser show would let you cheer. This one keeps making you slightly uncomfortable about who you're rooting for, which is exactly what a morally gray thriller should do. 8 tight episodes, no filler, ends before it can overstay its welcome. Recommendation match. If the moral queasiness of Vincenzo, rooting for someone you maybe shouldn't, was your thing, or you liked the dark webtoon adaptation vibe of shows like Sweet Home, this is a tight little 8-episode gut check. Okay, deep breath, because the next 4 are where I get emotional.
This is the one that made me cry in public. On a train, sunglasses on, pretending it was allergies. Move to Heaven, 2021, Netflix. The premise sounds heavy, and it is, but stay with me because it's also one of the most beautiful things you'll ever watch. It's about a young man named Godu who's autistic and his gruff, complicated guardian, and their unusual job. They are trauma cleaners. When someone passes away alone, they're the ones who come to clear the home. And in doing so, they piece together the story of a life nobody else stopped to notice. Each little case is its own self-contained gut punch about someone who was gone before anyone truly saw them. Tung Jun-sung, who was barely out of his teens filming this, gives one of the most precise, deeply felt performances I've seen from an actor at any age. It is careful and respectful and never once a caricature. And Lee Jae-hoon as the guardian, slowly, grudgingly cracking open, is the arc that undoes you. What elevates it from sad show to masterpiece is the restraint. It never manipulates you or milks the tears. It just presents each life plainly and lets the weight land on its own, which somehow hits 10 times harder. And the relationship between the two leads, this prickly, reluctant, slowly thawing bond, is the thread that carries you through. By the end, they've built something that looks a lot like family, and you'll have watched every brick go down. I'm not going to pretend it's a light watch, but it is not hopeless. It's the opposite. It's about dignity, about the idea that every single person's story deserves to be finished with care. It's only 10 episodes, and I'd put it in the conversation for the most quietly perfect single season Netflix has ever put out in this genre. Recommendation match. If the emotional core of It's Okay to Not Be Okay or the found family ache of Our Blues is what you chase in a drama, clear your evening, grab the tissues, and do not watch this one in public like I did. Which drama made you ugly cry the hardest? Confess in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone. Let me hand you a warm blanket after that, because Prison Playbook from 2017 is somehow one of the funniest, warmest, most rewatchable shows on this entire list. And it is set in a prison, which should not work and absolutely does. A superstar baseball player, right on the edge of signing with the major leagues, ends up behind bars in a moment that flips his whole life upside down. And instead of a grim, brutal prison drama, what you get is this incredible ensemble, a whole cell block of oddballs, each with a backstory that'll make you laugh one scene and tear up the next. It has the exact rhythm of hanging out with a big, ridiculous, loyal group of friends. Here's the pedigree that should sell you instantly. It's from the director behind the Reply series and Hospital Playlist. Same DNA. That warm, funny, slice of life, even in a wild setting, magic. That gift for making you love a dozen characters at once. And keep an eye on the cast, because one of these prisoners is played by Park Hae-soo, who a few years later became globally famous in a very different show about a deadly game. Watching him here first feels like finding a receipt. Jung Kyung-ho as his childhood best friend turned prison guard is the emotional anchor, and their decades-long friendship is the sneaky, tender core the whole comedy is built around. What sneaks up on you is how much heart is hiding under the jokes. Each inmate gets a backstory that reframes them from punchline to person, and the show has this deep, humane belief that people are more than the worst thing that happened to them. It's twist-free, low stakes in the best way, and endlessly rewatchable. The definition of a comfort binge. Recommendation match. If Hospital Playlist or Reply 1988 is your ultimate comfort food drama, this is the sibling you didn't know existed. Same soul, way less hyped internationally. Two left, and these are the two I've been building to this entire time. The award winner nobody mentions, and the number one that genuinely changed how I think about dramas.
Remember the very first thing I told you? A drama that beat the big, buzzy giants at Korea's biggest awards. And you've probably never heard of it? Meet Beyond Evil 2021. At the Baeksang Arts Awards, think Korea's most prestigious TV and film honors. This show won Best Drama and Best Screenplay, and Best Actor, over a field packed with far more famous, far more hyped titles. And internationally? Crickets. It's the single most underrated crime thriller of the last several years, and it's not close. The story. Two policemen in a small, quiet town, one older, strange, and deeply suspicious, played by the phenomenal Shin Ha-kyun. One younger, sharp, and convinced the first guy is hiding something, played by Yo Jin-gu, circling a series of disappearances that reopen old wounds the whole town buried. And the genius of it is you spend the entire show unsure who to trust, including the two leads. The tension isn't jump scares, it's this slow, creeping dread, and a plot so tightly wound that every episode rearranges what you thought you knew. Shin Ha-kyun's performance is a masterclass. He keeps you guessing about his own character for hours, and it's the kind of acting where you catch new things on a rewatch. He can make a single blank stare read as innocent in one scene and chilling in the next, and you genuinely cannot tell which is the real one. Yeo-jin-gu matches him beat for beat as the younger cop whose certainty slowly cracks, and their cat and mouse dynamic is the beating heart of the whole thing. That Best Actor trophy was not a participation prize. And the writing, that Best Screenplay win, is the real star. This is a plot with 0 wasted scenes, where a throwaway line in episode 2 pays off 8 hours later, and the mystery keeps evolving into something bigger and sadder than a simple whodunit. It's about grief, guilt, and the ugly things small communities agree not to look at. If you like a thriller that respects your intelligence and never insults it, this is the ceiling. Recommendation match. If Stranger/Secret Forest is your favorite Korean thriller of all time, Beyond Evil is the one I'd hand you next, without hesitation. Arguably tighter, definitely more overlooked. It's the crown jewel of how has nobody watched this? Alright, comment your #1 guess right now. Which drama do you think tops a list like this? Lock it in. Because here comes the one that beat them all in my book.
My Mr. 2018.
And when I say this is #1, I don't mean it's the flashiest or the most fun. I mean people who finish it talk about it like a before and after moment in their lives. The setup sounds almost aggressively plain. A tired, decent, middle-aged engineer, worn down by his job and a marriage that's quietly falling apart. And a young woman in her 20s, buried under crushing debt and hunted by loan sharks, doing a cold, hard job of just surviving. Their lives collide at his office, and what grows between them is one of the most misunderstood and most beautiful relationships in all of Korean television. And no, it is not what the logline makes you brace for. It's about two profoundly lonely people who, almost by accident, save each other by simply being kind. Lee Sun-kyun, who a lot of the world later met in a certain Oscar-winning film, gives a performance of pure, weary humanity here, and IU, credited as Lee Ji-eun, does the best work of her acting career. She plays this guarded, hollowed-out young woman with almost no dialogue in some scenes, and somehow you feel everything. It's staggering. The supporting cast is a whole world too. The regulars at a little neighborhood bar, his brothers, the people orbiting both leads, and the show gives every one of them a real interior life. Nobody's a prop. And the atmosphere, the muted color palette, the ache of the OST, that theme song alone has made grown adults cry on command. It all works together to build something that feels less like watching a drama and more like living a season of someone's life alongside them. This show is slow. It is quiet. It respects your patience and rewards it with an emotional payoff that people describe with the word healing over and over. It's the drama I recommend when someone tells me they want a show that makes them feel less alone in the world. There is no violence of the week, no big twist to spoil. The twist is just how deeply it understands loneliness and how gently it offers a way out of it. Give it 3 episodes to get under your skin. After that, it owns you.
Recommendation match. If Reply 1988 left a permanent warm bruise on your heart, or if you want the grown-up, heavier, more soulful cousin of every healing drama you love, this is the ceiling. This is the one. Watch it when you have the emotional space for it, and then come back and thank me. So there they are, 11 dramas that got the reviews, the awards, and the devotion of everyone who actually pressed play, and somehow still never got their moment. When the Weather is Fine, Chicago Typewriter, Weak Hero Class 1, The Light in Your Eyes, Be Melodramatic, Nobody Knows, A Killer Paradox, Move to Heaven, Prison Playbook, Beyond Evil, and the one at the very top, My Mr. If you take one thing from this, the algorithm is lazy, but you don't have to be. Every single one of these is a better night than rewatching the same famous 6 for the 4th time. Screenshot this list. Pick the one that matched a show you already love. Start it tonight. Now, I need you in the comments, because I know I left off somebody's ride or die hidden gem. Tell me which underrated drama I did dirty by not including, and I might just make a part 2 out of your picks. Did I rank My Mr. too high? Fight me. Nicely. If this helped you find your next obsession, hit that like, subscribe so the next recommendation lands right in your feed. And if you want more where this came from, go watch my breakdown of the most underrated K-drama performances that got completely robbed at award season.
it's the perfect next click. Until then, happy binging, and remember, the best drama you'll watch this year is probably one nobody's talking about. I'll see you in the next one.